Okay, magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Just bear with me because I just arrived this morning from overseas.
But you
So,
said in the first class, but it's not too long. It's not, yes.
and it wasn't a holiday, by the way. I was working. We did a campaign in Baguio with Ronan's team. We did a campaign also for nurses, in Baguio. And more or less, I used the same kind of slide to explain. So at the moment, my company, the GEP group, is also looking for about 100 nurses in different fields, together with TED's requirement as well. And that's the reason why we have to go to the Philippines and do and see what we have in the Philippines at the moment. Okay. So my name is Raul Hernandez. I'm the CEO of GEP Group. So GEP has office in the Philippines in Makati, and we just established an office in Singapore and in Saudi Arabia. And if you know where Cameroon is in West Africa, we're also there. Mainly because like Cameroon is also the source of nurses for Canada and other areas. So that's the reason why we choose to be there. Although GEP is not only doing nurses, we do a lot of. I want to do occupational traineeship program that, and I work with Joanna with this program. And GEP does a lot of really partnerships between institutions in Australia and other countries also. So in various areas of curriculum. So we introduce the Australian curriculum to other countries, basically. So that's where GEP is. I am not a nurse, although we have been working, as Ted said, for a long time, since the ION program started. So let me just give you, a brief history of the Nurses GEP program in Australia. So if you know the ION program, if you've heard of the ION program, it used to be the initial registration of overseas nurse. So the good thing about this is like the nurse comes here, they come here for 3 months. So with our school, with my school before, so it is an accredited program by ADMAC and APRA at that time. Okay, so it's a 3-month course, 1 month of theory and 2 months of clinical placement. That for me is the best program so far in terms of the ION, in terms of the GEP program of nurses. Now, in about 2018, they closed the ION program and changed it to EPIC. It became the entry program for international qualified RN. So what's the difference between ION and EPIC? Basically none. The only thing is they only want the universities to deliver the program, not like my college was a registered vocational program. They remove it from the vocational program because it is a bachelor's degree qualification. So they remove it from us basically and gave it to the universities. Unfortunately, it did not last. It only lasted for 2 years. Okay, so in March 2020, the APRA then introduced the outcome-based assessment, which is now the current GEP program of nurses in Australia. So today I'm going to discuss what the outcome-based assessment is. So you have an understanding of where you fit into the assessment of your qualifications as nurses. Okay. So basically, when you submit your APRA now has a platform. So you go to APRA, there's a platform if you want to be assessed. Okay, so you simply go to and you fill in the you answer the questions. Okay, and then you're asked to submit basic documents. All right, in terms of your initial assessment. All right, from those documents, you will actually be classified as a stream A, a stream B, or a stream C applicant. What is stream A? Stream A means that you hold a qualification considered to be substantially equivalent or based on similar competencies to an approved qualification here in Australia. Okay, so what are the countries that potentially belong to stream A? So that means that you do not need to have a GEP program. You're readily be registered on a reciprocal arrangement between Australia and that particular country, like UK, New Zealand, Singapore, US, and South Africa, okay, and Canada. So these are the countries potentially that will go to, Stream A. I'll go to Stream C first. Stream C means that the IQN who holds a qualification that is not substantially equivalent, okay, to that of the competencies here in Australia. So this is what Joanna is saying, that you have to start from scratch. You have to enroll in a 3-year program if you want to be a nurse in Australia, okay? Because your qualification is not acceptable at all. No, from where the country that you come from is not acceptable at all by the Australian standards. Now, Stream B means IQN who hold a qualification that is relevant to the profession, but is not substantially equivalent nor based on similar competencies to the approved qualification in Australia. So, Philippines belong to Stream B, generally, okay? Now, I don't want to say all of the nurses in the Philippines will do Stream B, because there is a drop off in terms of where you graduated when you go to the platform. If your university or your college is not there, maybe you have to think twice. Maybe you're at risk, or maybe not your Stream B. Maybe you can go to Stream C still. All right. But generally, countries like India, the Philippines, Nepal will probably belong to the Stream B category. All right. So as I mentioned before, if you're a Stream A, you just pay there's an orientation part 1, part 2. Just do your orientation online, and then you can already apply for immigration, for registration. Okay. Now let's look at Stream C. As I said, you start from scratch. Now let's look at Stream B. So Stream B means that you register in this platform, you do your orientation part 1, okay, and then you submit your portfolio. Okay. Now, when you submit your portfolio, then you've been approved, and then they will give you a go-ahead to proceed with the MCQ exam, or the multiple choice questionnaire. The multiple choice questionnaire in Australia, for the first time, they're using NCLEX RN. Okay, remember NCLEX has been used in the US for a long time. Philippines has been doing the review for more than 30 years for NCLEX. This is the first time that Australia is adopting this NCLEX. Okay, and then after the NCLEX exam, when you pass the NCLEX, okay, you will then go to the objective structured clinical examination. This is a 2-day examination, 4 hours each day. So this is a very practical component of the exam, where you will be assigned any of the number of cubicles. There are probably about more than 20 cubicles, depending if it's Adelaide or Melbourne just opened about last month as a clinical examination. It used to be only Adelaide. Now Melbourne is open. So basically during the OSCE exam, you will be put into one of the cubicles, and each one of the cubicles at random. You will be asked question and show things in terms of the practical component of your profession as nurse. Remember that the procedure that they're expecting is not from the Philippines. They assume that you already know, okay, the Australian standard, and you have to show the Australian standard of practice, not the Philippines. All right. So this is where, and then after that, when you pass, okay, then you can apply for registration. Of course, not in the process, if you can see, not in the process right now, because it's already given is your English proficiency. Okay, there is still English proficiency that's required of 7 in all bands for you to be registered in Australia. Okay, so just to give you an idea, sorry.
Can I ask a question? The nurses that we're looking at, they would all be Stream B, would they?
That's correct.
None of them would be Stream
A? Potentially, if they, depending on the number of years that they work in overseas in respective countries like
Yes.
Singapore or UK.
So if they worked in Singapore, UK.
Yeah, let me just quickly put aside in terms of Singapore. Joanna mentioned before that New Zealand is becoming a backdoor entry. Okay, as of December 4, that will no longer be the case. Okay, so in the past it was really easier, but as of December 4, the Nursing Council of New Zealand has already changed as well. So they will be adopting the UK. It will not be NCLEX, but there will be an MCQ equivalent. Okay, but they will administer the test. Okay, and there will also be now OSCE. Dati wala. Okay. However, if you have already applied prior to December 4, they will still honor your application. So in terms of Singapore experience, you will technically be allowed to apply in New Zealand if you have already worked as a Philippine registered nurse in Singapore for 2 years at least. Then you will be qualified for the New Zealand assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you won't be qualified for the Australian system.
Okay. As soon as you are qualified by the New Zealand, there is a reciprocal arrangement. Automatically, you're registered here in Australia. Oh, not registered, but you can apply for registration.
It's a very difficult path to
Yeah.
weed yourself through.
But in the
Just
past,
this is just
before December 4, the process in New Zealand is easier and cheaper.
Yeah.
But not anymore. Although they have not released the total cost of the process yet. They're saying that they will release it this week.
Yeah, so just for my benefit, when you and I talk about nurses and I talk
Yeah.
about most of the nurses, 99% of them would be Stream B.
Stream B.
Okay.
Definitely.
And that process from when they do the assessment, the IQM assessment, to when they sit the exam is 6 months.
It's your own pace basically, because technically, if you then do the NCLEX, right, depending on when you're going to do the NCLEX, and then with the NCLEX, APRA will be informed if you've already passed the NCLEX, because you're going to get the code from them. So it depends on, and there's no kind of limit if you want, in terms of like when do you want to do your exam or your test. But I will explain later on in terms of the preparation that we actually offer.
Has opened in Melbourne, is it? It's with Melbourne University.
Oh, which one?
For NCLEX.
No, it's NCLEX is run by Pearson VUE. This is the same owner of PT. They have their own testing exam.
So the Adelaide one.
The Adelaide is OSCE,
OSCE.
not NCLEX. OSCE. It's the clinical place.
So the nurse, once they've done OSCE, they can become registered. Once they've passed OSCE.
Yes, if they already passed the NCLEX, OSCE, and the English. Yeah. As I said, if you look at the process,
I think just explain a bit more to them here.
I will have a summary later on of what it is. Okay, just give you an so there's an orientation in the beginning of the process. This is just to introduce the Australian healthcare part 1. It just you read it and then you sign up that you've already read it. It's very simple. And then when you then do your registration after completing your NCLEX and your OSCE, there's already orientation part 2. The online learning give you more depth orientation of the Australian healthcare. Basically, you have to do this within 6 months of completing your registration. All right. So this is just a summary of the timeline. So application to APRA and then NCLEX review. I put there, as I said, IELTS, PT or OET, TOEFL, IB is also considered. Now, the only difference between the IELTS program and the EPIC and the OBA, during the IELTS program and EPIC, you cannot do the program until you've already done your IELTS. You cannot enroll. This time you can. You can go through the process without the English yet. As long as you have the English ready when you are ready for registration. Okay, so that's kind of the main difference between the English. That is the reason why if you read the APRA information, they don't talk about the English in the process because they assume that there is a requirement for registration is the English. Okay, for that. So you do the NCLEX and then you do the OSCE, preparatory program. Then you get your registration. Then, of course, after the registration, you can then work application. I'll deal more about this shortly. Okay, just to give you, so GEP, our company decided, well, rather than passing you guys to other providers, we have formed our team, to do the review for NCLEX and OSCE. Why did I do that? Number one, as I mentioned, the review center, the review programs here in Australia, they are simply getting it from the books, because they don't have any experience. So what you're getting from GEP in terms of the NCLEX review, our reviewers are all from the Philippines and it's online. And they have been reviewers for a long time, okay? And the good thing about it is they're all nurses, and they also update their their knowledge in terms of the NCLEX RN on a regular basis. And that is the reason why I really prefer them to be our reviewer than those ones here that GEP can just partner with someone here, but I did not like it because when I look at their program, they're just using the book that they buy without any experience in terms of actually taking the NCLEX exam, right? So we have a very, very experienced team for the NCLEX review. I will discuss more about it. So just for the NCLEX, obviously this is the National Council of State Board of Nursing, the NCSBN, developed and delivered NCLEX RN through Pearson VUE test centers in most countries. So this is still based in the US, okay? This is not like, although when I was in Baguio, I saw a NCLEX RN Australia. Technically, from my knowledge, it's not released yet because now there is an NCLEX RN Canada. So that means that they have already reviewed the NCLEX and adopted for the Canadian Nursing Board. Now, I don't think Australia yet. So technically, we are still using the US at this stage. Okay, I don't think they have released the NCLEX RN Australia yet. Okay, although in the review of NCLEX, okay, we actually incorporate the Australian standards as well. So like, for example, the metric system and all. So it's Australia. All right. So the component is 5-week online learning via Zoom online. Sessions are between 5 to 9 p.m. Monday to Friday. So that this will give you an opportunity to still work in the morning, or if you have opportunity, if you're doing. So the commitment is 5 to 9, at night. So and also this becomes like the availability of our reviewer from the Philippines and one from the US actually, who's going to do the review. So Monday to Friday, okay. So for 5 weeks, and then what we need, and let me just. So first, there is a readiness assessment predictor, just to give a gauge on where you are before you start your review in terms of your knowledge, because this is a very theoretical, general knowledge, as you know, in NCLEX. So the readiness assessment predictor test will tell you exactly, will tell the reviewer on where you are at this stage of the review. Okay, so there is a certain kind of expectations here. Okay. So the method of duration, the comprehension review, and then intensive final coaching. The a 5-day base on your last 5 days. Will be the intensive one where you will do the practice. There's a dedicated reviewer who will actually be doing this, okay, in terms of the last 5 days of your session of NCLEX. So this will give us an idea whether you're going to pass or not. Now, in the last meeting that I had with the reviewer, I really like to maintain a 100% passing rate. So in this case, if you are not ready according to our reviewer, we will not ask you, or we will not allow you to take the test. I think this is
That's a really good
this is the best option because it's kind of wasting.
It's a reputation.
Well, exactly,
Yes.
and building this because I am the new kid in the although I know exactly what happens, I'm still the new kid. I mean, as I said, we've run the iron program as a college before, so we know exactly what it is. All right, so that's what we intend to do, and then there is also an exit assessment. I hope that we will not be doing the exit assessment. Exit assessment means like if you fail, why did you fail? Okay, where did you fail? Okay, so we're not going to leave you behind and just sit. We will actually like tell you also where did you fail and why. Okay, so this is the exit assessment that we talk about. Okay, hopefully, as I said, we will not be going to do that. Okay, the OSCE preparatory program is very, very important. This is a 5-week component, covers online delivery of theory for the first 3 weeks. Okay, you can still do the theoretical component 3 weeks, but then the 2 weeks will now be all purely lab. Okay, we have allocated a laboratory in Queen Street, which is the original lab we had in our college. So still the lab that we're going to use. So let me just go through. So in the APRA, if you go to APRA, these are all the possible possible questions that will appear in your OSCE. Okay, so we have to go through each one of them. Okay, because we don't know exactly what question's going to be asked. Now, the good thing about this as well is the person or the nurse that's going to prepare you for the 2 weeks just passed the OSCE exam here in Australia. So our Filipino nurses, they're very kind of helping us, helping you guys, to be able to pass by sharing their experiences in their own OSCE exam in Australia. So we've already talked to them, and they're now part of our team. So in fact, they're the one who actually designed the review for the laboratory based on their experience in the OSCE that they just passed here in Australia. Okay, so that's basically the the program of GEP. The NCLEX and the OSCE preparatory, and these are all, by the way, nurses that will review your and practice. They're practicing in Australia for the OSCE. They're all nurses that practice here, so it's not it's an actual kind of sharing of their own experiences. So just a summary of your OBA requirements: English proficiency test, IELTS in all bands, PTE, OET equivalent. Okay. I don't know why I don't place TOEFL because I never reviewed TOEFL. And TOEFL is also accepted.
So is the OSCE preparation also 5 to 9 p.m. Monday
Okay.
to Friday?
Yes, it is also 5 to 9 for the first 3 weeks. But in terms of the 2 weeks, it will be full day. Every day for 2 weeks. Monday to Friday. So we'll give you the schedule so that you can adjust because this will be I'd like to have it more extensive kind of training, because from the feedback I got from the nurses, Filipino nurses that took the OSCE, a lot of them failed because they did not know the Australians. Those who passed really, like Ariel, who's actually been reviewing, has an advantage because he has been in Saudi Arabia for a long time. So it's kind of similar experience in Saudi Arabia that otherwise it's kind of different. All right. So that's the reason why the 2 weeks will be 9 to 5, just for 2 weeks. So again, the 3 requirements: English, NCLEX RN, and the OSCE. Okay, you have to pass the 3 in order for you to get the program, the registration. Okay, just to give you a idea in terms of the cost, APRA charges $640 for your assessment, and then when you book your NCLEX, you pay directly to APRA. All this they charge 500 Australian. It's about 300 something 40 US. I think because they charge in US dollars. And the OSCE examination, that's why you don't think to fail, is $4,000. Okay, that's you pay for APRA. For our review, NCLEX and OSCE, we charge $6,000. And yes, we do installment basis, it's acceptable. Now, let me just say that the GEP group also, through Peppermint Financial Institution, offers a loan to nurses for Visa 407. This is the visa for occupational traineeship that Joanna actually mentioned earlier. Why are we doing this? Because as you can see, the cost, it's still very prohibitive when it comes to the Philippines. But as long as there is work, you know, our partner Peppermint is willing to loan, and it's very low risk, because with the cooperation of Joanna and other companies that I talked to, technically you will not pay anything. There is no loan until your visa is approved if you were in the Philippines under the 407 visa. Okay, so there is no there's no financial commitment if your visa is not approved.
How about us here
Yeah.
in Australia?
So are they allowed?
How about the
Okay.
ones in Australia?
So those ones can still do the 407, obviously. However, okay, the contract has to be signed in the Philippines because Peppermint Financial Institution is not approved as a loan provider in Australia, but their subsidiary in the Philippines is actually registered with Central Bank, and they're an approved provider of loan. So the thing is, yes, you can, but you have to sign the contract in the Philippines.
But do you have to be in the Philippines?
You have to be in the Philippines. I don't know why, but that's what the lawyers told me.
It's,
Yeah. So, sorry.
you know, it's a lot cheaper than the iron program.
Well, it is
You
still
know,
cheaper.
yeah,
Yeah. It's still cheaper than the iron program. The iron program is about $20,000
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
So this is still a cheaper option, obviously. Than than the. Can I also say, you know, that because there are few people in Baguio that attended our fresh graduates and they just passed the board exam. So the new OBA assessment is actually focused in terms of academic. Okay, it's not experience at all. All right. So the assessment of the APRA and ANMA now for the GEP program of OBA. That's why they talk about competencies. They talk about, you know, reciprocal arrangements and all, because it is now based on academic. Okay, so what does this mean? This means that a fresh graduate from the Philippines passed the board. Okay, so the base concept is that if the country has a board exam for nurses, they should have passed the board exam. Okay, like the Philippines. So if they pass the board exam, fresh graduate, no experience, they are still qualified to apply now because it's now based on academic, not experience.
How
Okay.
about, how about those who graduated
Yeah.
but then worked in a call center
Yeah.
for 10 years?
Yeah.
Can they still be eligible?
Not anymore. Okay, however, siguro naman hindi 10 years, but you know, there are a few people that again attended our session and they're like graduates of Bachelor of Science in Nursing, but they did not pass the board. Okay, so we're encouraging them to apply based on age or that, because we also have potential clients in terms of aged care. Okay, I am positioning to aged care facilities in Australia that they will be the best, you know, carers because they have completed their Bachelor of Science in Nursing, although they did not pass the board exam. Okay, so we're trying to push those under board, and there are a few people that attended under board to actually consider the Certificate 3 in individual support with the view of a employment. Remember that at the moment there is also a crisis in terms of the aged care workers in Australia right now. So that is a best offer for the nurses. In fact, the seminar that we did in the Philippines, we invited both board passers and non-board passers for the seminar, so that, you know, give them also an opportunity to do so.